and that is something to do with face camping. So if you're new to Dead by Daylight, if you've never heard this term before, face camping is basically a term used to describe a killer that's standing directly in front of a hooked survivor. They're not moving, they're waiting for that hooked survivor to die on hook, and this is usually happening either for a large portion of the match, if not the entirety of the match. We know that face camping can be very, very unfun for the person on the hook, but of course also the other people in the match. So we're looking to test out a new feature that's going to help combat face camping as a whole. So Jeff, tell us how it works.
Well, the first thing I want to say is that as an altruistic survivor, it's really difficult for me to play against someone who's face camping because I just want to help and I can't. So I'm stuck, doing generators instead, which is fine, but I'd rather help my teammates. But yes, so the way the system works is that the hooked survivor has a meter on their screen, and it fills up based on the killer's distance to the hooked survivor. So the closer the killer is, the faster it fills up. The further they are, the slower it fills up until it doesn't fill up at all because they're not within a certain radius. And once it's full, the hooked survivor can unhook themselves even in the second stage. And what's great about this is that they get the full benefits of being unhooked. So it's as though a teammate had unhooked them, or they unhook themselves with perks such as Deliverance. So for those of you who don't know, that means they'll get the haste status effect and the endurance status effect, so they're pretty safe at that stage.
That is so awesome to hear. I know folks at home are probably already thinking about a bunch of things on this topic, so I'm going to start by bringing probably one of the questions we're going to get, and that's what happens if the killer is forced to stay by the hook? So there's like multiple survivors swarming the hook, they're forced to stay in that radius. Is there any situation in which this feature might slow down or turn off or be otherwise affected?
That's a great question, and yes, there are some scenarios where it either slows down or turns off. So for the first one that you mentioned, where survivors are swarming the hook, as soon as there is one other survivor within that same radius, the meter will build up a lot more slowly. So the killer doesn't have to worry about survivors swarming the hook and being penalized for it. As for the second option that we talked about, which was turning it off, once the exit gates are powered, the feature is completely turned off. So you can defend your only objective, again, without having to worry about the survivor unhooking themselves.
That makes a lot of sense. Of course, we're going to be so eager to hear what you folks are going to say on this matter. And for the most part, it really does sound like this feature is targeting those most egregious cases of face camping, where it's really used kind of in a spot that's way too early in the game, or in a spot that's really not going to make sure that the match is as fun as possible. So with that said, though, when can folks expect to get their hands on this feature? When can they let us know what their thoughts are?
The burning question. Everyone wants to know. So our plan, which is subject to change, of course, is to have it sometime later this year on a PTB, just to make sure that, it's as good as it can be.
Of course, yeah. And again, TLDR, we are eager to hear those thoughts, so let us have them on the official channels as much as possible. We are always keeping an eye out. But I think that's it. That's a wrap for our quick gameplay updates segment. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining me, Jeff, again.
Thanks for having me.